Live from our studio kitchen for Sunday night Real Marriage Live.
Father's Day tea time.
Yes.
Not on a golf course.
No. That's pretty fun.
Different kind of tea.
So I hope you guys are having a great Father's Day. I hope you all had a nice day. I know Father's Day can be sad for some people, can have mixed emotions for different people. I know my dad, both of our dads are in heaven, and even if you didn't have a great dad, I mean, we had
praying my dad's there.
We loved our dads.
He never took me to church, so I don't know.
We loved our dads, but they weren't perfect, and they could have done, I guess, a lot of different things, and we could sit here and talk about all the things that they didn't do right, and how our fathers weren't there for us for this area or that area. But you know what? We're just thankful that we had them for what we got from them, and we have a heavenly Father. So today Jonathan Osteen preached his first sermon at our church, Joel Osteen's son, and he's like 22 years old, and it was
a great job.
It was amazing. Like, he really brought it, and he talked about the love of our heavenly Father. So we just have to remember that we do have a heavenly Father. And
it was so funny because he started out and he goes, this is my first time. He goes, but let's look back at my father's first time. And it showed Pastor Joel had a mullet, and he was talking with his country accent. So Jonathan says, he goes, well, I don't have a country accent, and I don't have a mullet, so I'm already starting off better.
So good. Anyway, we hope you guys are having a good day today. So in our marriage class, so Richard and I teach, for those of you who don't know, we lead a marriage class at Lakewood Church called Marriage Rocks. We've done it for 9 years, and we talk about all kinds of subjects about marriage.
All things marriage.
Yes. And sometimes you can't handle the truth. And we've had sweet subjects where we've talked about communication or romance. We've talked about spiritual warfare. We've talked about finances. We've talked about, you name it, and the gamut of marriage, we've talked about it. So what we're talking about right now in our marriage class is masturbation and pornography.
Yeah.
So we didn't just do one Sunday. We've been doing it now for 7 weeks.
Or M&P, however you want to look at it.
So we still have a couple of weeks left to talk about it. But it's been really freeing, I think, for a lot of people. I think it's been, at first it was really awkward, and there were some people that didn't, people were squirming, and we didn't even know if people would come back for those next few weeks. But actually our class is growing, and they're talking a lot about, and so the reason we're telling you that is because it kind of leads into what we're talking about tonight. And so it's been very freeing talking about that. And in our master class, which is at Lakewood right now, we have a series called I'm Sorry. So that kind of did fit into the series I'm Sorry. And not just saying I'm sorry, but we're actually getting to the root of things about pornography and the effects of that on
and
marriage.
Why and how it becomes so addicting, not just because of the visual stimulation and what it does by releasing endorphins, but how that whole chemical process with any addiction works. So Tony and Raleigh Joseph spoke about it today, and they gave the scientific breakdown, and then they gave their story too. Yeah. So it was very impactful. Really great.
So when Richard and I got up there at the end, we always kind of give it's kind of like Jerry Springer. How did he used to do at the end?
Jerry moments. So Jerry Richard and Sherry moment.
Richard and Sherry moments. So
sometimes it's still a Jerry moment.
So we got up there and we just kind of talked a little bit, and we were just talking about deal breakers, because they were saying, is it a safe place for your spouse to be able to talk about these things? So it got us on the whole subject of inner vows and deal breakers.
Well, let's back up and talk about that for a second, because a lot of times in new marriage, and even before you get married, you put everything out on the table, and you say, you know what, I can accept anything. We can go through anything, we can work through anything except cheating. If you cheat on me, we're done. We won't be able to work through that. It's over. Mm-hmm. And that's
it could be whatever. Somebody else could have something else. It could be if you use drugs, or if you whatever. But what we were talking about, we're speaking from our own experience, and the thing that I told Richard, right?
Yeah.
Because so what I told Richard when we first got together, because I'd been married twice before, and a lot of hurts, a lot of things that happened. I got together with my first husband when I was very young, so I just a lot of hurts. And so when I got with Richard, I said, you know what, there's a lot of things that I can, I don't like the drinking and I don't like all this stuff, but do not cheat on me. Like, do not, which I had, pornography fell under that, going to strip bars fell under that, being with other women, anything to do that I felt like sexual wise, that he had his eye away from me, was cheating to me. And I said, I'll stay for pretty much anything and work through it, but it's a deal breaker if you if I catch you cheating.
And I get that, I really do. And I'm like, you know what? That works. I'm never going to cheat on you, and it's never going to be like that. And we've got this. We're soulmates. But what you're basically saying is you're creating an inner vow right there, saying that God's not going to be able to heal this because I'm taking this under control. I'm going to control this one aspect of our life.
And so I'm going to explain an inner vow.
All right.
I'm going to give you the definition. So an inner vow is a self-directed promise resulting from an unpleasant experience or a hurt from a life situation, either from a parent or someone else. Okay, so something that happened could be in your childhood. For me,
hurts so
I don't think it
deeply.
was so much things that happened in my childhood. More as I got married really young. I was only 17 the first time, so it was still kind of my childhood. But things that hurt me from boys in high school, and then the marriages, and so I had a hurt, and I was guarding my heart in that area about that inner.
And so that inner vow, what it does is it gives you a sense of protection. Because now we're doing this marriage on my terms, not on God's terms, but on my terms. So when I let her down or she let me down, well, instead of going to God who can help us work through this, our inner vow kicks in and we control the situation.
Okay.
And we're either going to heal from, we're not going to heal from it because we're leaving, we're walking out, and we're done.
And the thing is, we knew nothing about this. We knew nothing about an inner vow. We didn't even know what an inner vow was. We had never heard about it. We knew about deal breakers. We knew this is a deal breaker. If you do this, is a deal breaker. But we didn't understand anything about the spiritual side of an inner vow, or that there was such a thing as an inner vow. We just thought that is what we put in place. That it gives us comfort. We think it gives us comfort because it protects us from that hurt, because we don't want to be hurt. Instead of just dealing with it, we just don't want to be hurt. So if we don't have to go there, we won't be hurt. When I was in another relationship before Richard, when I was very young, one of the things he said was the deal breaker is you can do pretty much whatever you want, but never get fat. Okay, so he told me never get fat. So for years, I have lived with that thing in my head. And now, granted, this person was overweight, but I could never get fat. And so thank God I love foods too much to have an eating disorder. But I'm still very careful about not being overweight, because that was a deal. That was something he put on me and said,
"Man, you're putting his insecurity on me."
Don't get fat.
She's all like, "Don't get fat." I'm like, "What?
I hate fat."
PHAT or FAT?
But it's not a deal breaker.
Baby, I'm fat. PHAT. Come on.
It's not a deal breaker, but it's something that is a thing that bothers me. So we had these. So my deal breaker is taking the last piece of pizza, Chris. Okay, we're being serious here, but that's pretty funny. It probably really is.
Now that is my deal breaker too. Do not take the last.
Richard
slice
says
of
don't
pizza,
take the last.
especially on Father's Day.
He says don't take the last power ring.
Yeah, I used to, which is donut. It used to be don't take the last beer. The last beer was always mine.
So it's kind of like having a deal or having an inner vow. It's like we've decided in our mind that we are going to, like we said, protect our heart. We're taking it into our own hands, which is what you were starting to say a while ago about the God.
Right.
About.
So what happens? All right. How is it that some no uncertain terms that there's one reason you can divorce and one reason only, and that is infidelity. So some people take that very seriously, and when that happens, they're gone. They just chunk it, and, deuce, we're out, right? But what happens with the couples who stay together and work through this? Do you know that we know more than a hand? We know dozens and dozens and dozens of couples that have gone through this, and their marriage is actually better than it was before because they let God come into this place. They didn't have an inner vow saying, if this happens, we're done. Mm-hmm. What they did was, God, come into our marriage and help us. We're hurting. Help us heal through this.
Mm-hmm. And so that's our story, and so we're going to tell you all about that too. So an inner vow, like we said, can comfort you, but it also means when you have this inner vow or this deal breaker, this thing like if you do this, I'm out. That an inner vow means that you're unteachable. Okay, this is me. I'm speaking for my own because this is what happened with us.
That's
So
me too.
we went through years.
Won't even hear it. Somebody don't even
If
talk
you
to
have
me
a certain
about that.
thing that like he wasn't going to be controlled by women.
I'm not going to church.
Yeah, I'm not going to church. Mine was, but let's stick with that. So mine was the pornography thing, the cheating thing. So if you don't cheat, so I was unteachable in this area. He couldn't have talked to me about it. There was no black. It was black and white to me. It was either you did it or you didn't do it. Very unapproachable about it. You know, when you have an inner vow, you're unapproachable in that area, and you're a little cray-cray. But
The other day
you're a
we
little
were
bit
laughing
crazy.
because we were talking about Cray Cray Sherry, and I was just like, baby, I'm so thankful that Cray Cray Sherry doesn't live here anymore.
Oh yeah.
And what did you say?
What did I say? I said
You said, oh baby, don't get too comfortable with that because Cray Cray still has the key to the house.
Yeah, she's living right next door.
She can
She
still
can come back at any time. But you know what? I was a little bit crazy in that area. Now, not to say that the things that he was doing wasn't right as a married man, but the way that I was handling it was unapproachable, unteachable, and crazy. Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, okay? Because as that inner vow is put into place, and I know in the back of my mind, there is no going to Sherry, there is no telling her this, there is no sharing this with her because she's going to lose it, and it's going to be curtains for Richard. So what did I do? I snuck around, I kept it to myself, I tried to deal with it on my own. I was ashamed and embarrassed to go to her because she already told me, don't come to me with these issues. Just deal with it. Get over with. Be a man. Stop doing it. And I couldn't go and tell her. She would say, how are things going? I'm like, man, I'm doing great. And I wasn't.
Well, that was even before when we could talk. That was after we could talk about it. But at first, we didn't even talk about it. Like,
right.
He
Oh,
was
yeah.
Just,
we don't talk about it.
It was
go
just
away.
Sneaky. And the more that I was unapproachable, unteachable, and crazy, the more he became... because I was always trying to catch him, and so the more he became sneakier, and he withdrew even more. So we weren't even setting ourselves up for any health or anything in our marriage because we were doing everything wrong, which we had no one to help us. So he was not being able to come to me with the things that were. And at that point, I think at first, I'm not even sure you really were wanting to. At first, you were like, "This is what I do, and this is how it is. If you don't like it, you're out." But as he wanted, we started going to church, and I think his heart started to change, and he wanted to be better in those areas. He still couldn't come to me because I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to hurt, and I didn't want to hear excuses. I felt like they were lies and excuses, and so I just wanted him to quit, and that was it.
And man up.
And man up. And I know this is real, y'all. So. Anybody else?
So every time she would come in and she knew how I had the DVDs stacked up and she knew when they were moved. She knew how the player, well, we didn't have video because it was actually VHS.
VHS back then.
And so she would know, and then she would come in and confront me. And of course, I would lie about it because I was afraid to tell her the truth. Mm-hmm. And this was a crazy cycle. So all we're doing is building mistrust and mistrust and mistrust. And you think, well, man, tomorrow I'm just not going to do that again. I just won't do that. But we were talking about today about the endorphins and how the endorphins when you're watching pornography flow at their highest, and then as it comes down, you got to do it all over again, and it's just a cycle that, man, is just hard to beat, and you can't do it on your own. You've got to be able to have an accountability partner, and it's got to be your spouse.
But we didn't know this.
We didn't know that.
We didn't know any of this stuff. To me, I just thought you're just doing it, you're cheating, it's against me. And I didn't know that there were things from his childhood, things that had started a long time ago, things that we had never talked about because I couldn't even talk about it because I was so hurt and angry. And I just thought, all men do this. This is the way men are. And if I just control it and I just tell him, you know what? If you do this, I'm out. Even after he would do it and I would catch him, I wasn't out. Even though I always say this is a deal breaker, and he always knew I was going to lord it over him that this is a deal breaker, but I still didn't leave. Like I would leave for maybe a few days, but I'd always come back, and then we played this cycle of him telling me he was sorry, and then we just played this thing, and we just kept on perpetuating this.
And I remember going to her and trying to explain because I was going to the classes at church. We were doing Quest for Authentic Manhood, and I remember knowing that they said, hey, you've got to share this with your wife. You've got to share this with your wife. And I went to a men's encounter, and man, so I told her, and she. Well, before I was going, I knew that I had to tell her. So I told her one time, and she just flipped out. And I just go, oh, man. So what Satan does is he says, don't do that again. Man, you tried. Look how that blew up in your face. Keep it all. Richard, you knew better. You already knew you weren't supposed to tell her, so I wouldn't. But
so what you're going to say about as far as telling? So I knew a lot of stuff because I was always trying to catch him, but he had taken it a little further and started going to places that he shouldn't go to. So that's what we're talking about now. That's when he was wanting to come clean to me and saying, you know, hey, I'm in, because I used to watch to see what strip bars he was in and all that. Then I just stopped, and then
all right. So I remember I knew I still had to. The problem wasn't fixed. I wasn't healing from it. She wasn't healing from it. We hadn't dealt with anything, and I knew that our marriage couldn't go any further and be everything that God had called us to be if we didn't deal with this issue. Because God doesn't bless sin. No matter what, God can't go back on His word, and He loves the sinner, but He hates the sin. So I knew that I had to repent, and I knew I had to somehow continue, even though I knew it was going to start another argument or a disagreement or a fight. I knew I had to do it again, and I did it again and again, and eventually we did it enough to where we were able to talk about it.
He first came to me, that inner vow was, I was Lord over my life in that area, basically. I would not let God in that one area. I like, God, you can handle all this other stuff I'm praying about, but this one is a deal breaker. Like, you can't fix this, God.
I got this one,
I'm
God.
out. Yeah, don't worry.
Take the day off on this one.
Yeah. And so we're telling ourselves how reality is going to be, and we're telling God, and that's not even what God's will for it. We're not even allowing God's will for our life, for Him to either, for us to split up, for us to work it out. Nothing. Anything that God had planned for us, we couldn't even do it because I had a stalemate. Like, we are not going there. And so, and I also think the more you talk about those things and you put those negative and you say, you know, for me it was the cheating and all this different stuff. The more I said it, the more it's like we let the devil in, the more the enemy could come in, because we were speaking it out, and it was like we were leaving an open door for him to come in, and those very things that we were trying to not do were the things that were we kept doing, just like the Bible. The things I don't mean to do, keep doing.
So to go back and say, well, man, if I have these inner vows, how do I heal those inner vows? What God was trying to do with Sherry, when Sherry said, this was before we even married, she gave me this is what you will not do. All right. Well, that right there should have been a red flag that, man, this has hurt her in her past, and this is her way of putting up a shield to protect herself. In other words, God hasn't healed her in this area yet. So it's going to take something. Right then, I should have been able to say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about that for a second. And because healthy emotional people will marry healthy emotional people, but unhealthy emotional people will marry unhealthy emotional people.
So he couldn't talk about his
don't do it. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Let's do this.
Just hide it. Right. And so unhealthy, it gets it with the unhealthy. So he couldn't talk about his unhealthy things. I couldn't talk about my unhealthy things. And so my heart is hard in that area. I haven't forgiven the past of things that I had, the reason why I had an inner vow in those areas in the first place for people that had hurt me. And some are unconscious, some are conscious, but there were certain triggers that those things would trigger me to flight. Like they say either fight or flight. I wasn't a fighter, I was a flighter, and I wanted out. Like, as soon as that happened, I'm getting in my car, I'm driving off. As soon as that happens, I'm going away for the weekend, and he isn't going to be able to find me. Mine was triggered. It was triggered. That anger triggered, and I had to get out.
She needed healing in that area. Now, I lived my life, I started seeing porn, I guess, when I was 7 years old. It was prevalent in my first marriage. It was prevalent when I was single. So I had a porn addiction that I had never even tried to quit yet, because I didn't think there was anything wrong, because the world's watching porn, we're watching porn, and everybody thinks it's great. But, man, it destroys your family. It destroys you as a human being, first off. Then it destroys your marriage. Then divorce destroys your kids, destroys your finances. It destroys life, you know. And I didn't get it. I didn't know.
Well, he thought that
being a man,
pornography
was synonymous with manhood.
Yeah, but also that it wasn't cheating. He thought it wasn't cheating. He said, as long as I'm not going out and being with another person physically, with somebody else, another woman, you should be thankful. I'm not cheating on you. And but it felt like I was being cheated on.
When you told me that, like, you are cheating on me, it was such a, like,
She's crazy.
She is crazy. You know, like, what is she
I'm home.
thinking? I'm home. You know, like.
And we even, this is really real, but for us, I mean, pornography was a part of our life for the first couple of years because I thought it would enhance things. I thought, man, I'm the coolest girlfriend ever. And that's why he was attracted to me because, man, I'm not. This is before church, y'all. And a lot of things,
Not before church, like, hey, it's time to go to church. Cut that DVD off. That's not what she means.
But before we started
Clarify
going to
content.
church again, because I used to go to
There
church.
you go.
Before I started going to church with Richard, and even when we first started going to church, I have to be really honest, we were still, because we were leading a double life. And I just thought that would enhance things. I was the cool girlfriend back then, and I would give him like DVDs in his Christmas stocking, and he just thought, man, I got the best girlfriend ever. But as it started, years went on, it started to cause a lot of problem, and it's just never good because it's never enough.
It's never enough.
It's never enough.
Never enough.
So for us, that deal breaker. So the whole point of this video is to talk about, not to talk about pornography, but to talk about deal breakers, and just to say for us, when I did not allow that area, when I had that inner vow, when I had that, if you do this, I'm out. If you do, anything to do with that, I'm leaving, I'm out, we're getting divorced. It was a constant thing I would throw up in his face. And I wouldn't let God in that area of our life. And that was the one area God was trying to heal us so he could give us all the things that, a great marriage, and we could get past it so we could have this now and be able to talk to you guys. But the enemy kept us so stuck in that place. And I was unteachable and unapproachable about it. But when I finally just started trusting God and said, Lord, I just trust you. I'm putting it over to you. And I don't know if this man will ever get better, but I just pray that you will help me know how to live with him and not kill him.
And when I get to heaven, I'm going to have a big old mansion. But you actually told me a womanchin. She goes, I'm not living in a mansion. I'm living in a womanchin.
So I did. But when we got to that point where I said, you know what, I'm not going to take it personal. I'm not going to be something that's my heart is hard. My heart is hard about it because of past hurts. And I'm just going to deal with Richard because I love him and he's my husband. And no matter what happens, I'm in this. And not being a commitment to the end of your life to just say, you know what, we're committed for life no matter what. It doesn't matter if we heal. My parents are married 55 years, but it was kind of like, they were just sticking it out for as long. I don't want to be in a commitment with my husband just to say that we did it until death do us part, just to stick with it. We wanted to do it and have healthy marriage and have everything that God had for us for our marriage. So when I was able to talk to him about that and he was able to tell his heart to me and we were able to pray about it together, that's when that's when it started to change. That was several years back, but when it started to change little by little, and now it's not an issue, and now we can talk about it, and it's not a deal breaker anymore because now it's a non-issue.
I believe we practice the 80-20 rule a lot. A lot of things that we say are the 80-20 rule. And I believe that 20% of the people that get married probably are doing it right. They didn't live together. They studied. They took classes together. They learned about different things. They didn't just rush into marriage. But I also believe that 80% did it wrong. The 80% were hurting. We come across too many broken marriages, too many broken people that they're on their third and fourth marriage and they're giving up on marriage because they just, like we were, it's a deal breaker. Marriage is just a deal breaker. They talk marriage, I'm out. Because we're using the wrong things. We're using the lies to try to build a truthful marriage, and we can't do that. But, we didn't know that at the beginning, so we were just getting together and, man, girl, you got my back, I got yours.
As long as you don't do this.
Right. But, man, as these things started to happen, what we didn't realize is, man, God was taking that brokenness that I was carrying all these years, and you hear the baggage that we all bring and the baggage that she brings, to start unpacking some of this stuff and start working through our marriage. And a lot of times, and I'm just going to be truthful, so the guys that are listening out there, and wives, if you're listening to this and your husband doesn't watch, sometimes we want to just be kept in the dark. We don't want to know about all this stuff. We don't want to share our feelings and our emotions. But man, it's such a beautiful thing when we start to understand it, because a lot of times we don't even understand these emotions. We don't understand these feelings we're having, so we don't know how to talk about it openly without being embarrassed or feel like you're ashamed of yourself. So man, we just don't. And so we don't want to go to church. We don't want to go to classes. We don't want to hang around other men because, man, we don't want to be pointed at going like, oh, that's the loser over there that I was telling you about. So man, let's remember that when we're talking to other people and we're talking to our spouses, we have to realize that, you know what? I want the best for my spouse and she wants the best for me. We're on the same team. how can we nurture this marriage and do it right without hurting each other's feelings?
And today in our class, the reason why we brought it, because it was so heavy on our heart, is that I talked to the whole class, but to the ladies and said, we've been beating up on the men for a long time. And I think church sometimes does beat up on the guys, and because the man is the head of the house, and God did, he wants them to be the man and to be the head. He wants them to be the head, but sometimes they don't know how. And I didn't know that you didn't have that innately. Like, I just thought that that's something all men knew. So I was like, be a man, grow up. I was going to say grow up here. Yeah, I was going to. But that was back in the day. I mean, that's serious. And so
that was BC, before church. This morning. This morning.
But the point is that as women, we can be really upset with our spouse, our husbands, about things that they're doing that, yes, they should be changing, and yes, it should be something that we need to be working on, and it's not minimalizing that. Minimalizing, is that a word? Minimalizing. It
is, yes.
That any more than but to also put the onus on us that are we approachable? Are they able to come to us with their heart? Are we unteachable, and do we have an inner vow in an area? And to think that you have an inner vow, like, if that happens, I'm out. We need to let that go. We need to go and forgive wherever that came from, wherever those inner vows come from. We need to be able to go forgive in that area for wherever that happened. Was it our childhood, a past relationship? Because until we forgive, we aren't going to be free, and we're not going to be free for our spouse. And it could be the opposite. It could be the men are dealing with something and the woman's got, the man's got an inner vow. But we need to be, as spouses.
I need to be able to go to my wife and say, hey, look, I got an inner vow about this, and I need us to come together in this and pray about it, because I need to be healed from this, and we need to work on it, and we need to become marriage experts. And guys, the stuff that we're telling y'all is the stuff that we've learned in the last 15
that
years.
We've lived,
and we always continue to grow and live and learn more. And there's days that we have our moments, and we're not perfect, but I know this: we serve a perfect God, and He's doing something miraculous in our marriage. And if He's going to do it in our marriage, it's jacked up and it's broken. We had a couple come up today and said, man, when y'all gave y'all's testimony 15 or 14 years ago, when y'all were teaching a pre-marriage class, and I'm like, and y'all are still married? I'm like, man, we did it, She goes, but man, y'all were so broken, and we looked up and said, man, if they can do it, we can do it. So, man, I believe what Sherry sent out, I think, put it on Facebook, that our vibe will attract our tribe. Yeah. And man, we're looking for the people who are hurting, that have never been able to deal with these things before. And we want to be able to say, hey, look, man, you can do this, and you can do it successfully,
And I know this is a heavy thing to talk about, y'all, but it's real. And we just want you guys to have hope, because if we can make it, I promise you, if we could get through the things that we got through, the world, the people that live, if you're watching this and you don't go to church and you don't understand some of the Christianese that we say, we try to be careful about Christianese, and we say the world. But if the world, which is not people who are believing what the word says, people that are just listening to social media, Hollywood, all that stuff, people, your friends that aren't believers, if they're telling you, oh, you need to get out, girl, or you don't need to put up with it, that's a deal breaker. Don't listen to that. You need to go to someone, if you're going to get counsel for your marriage, what Dave and Ashley always say, someone that loves you, loves your spouse, is for your marriage,
and loves God. Then you can listen to what they have to say. If one of those ingredients is missing, then you don't take advice from them.
And we've seen too, where I think they've even done studies where couples are hurting in the worst place, deal breaking type of things, that either, the ones that didn't get divorced but went through it instead of bailing out, or, they went around it, through it, whatever way to get to that other side. When they got to that other side, their marriage was way better than it was even before when it was really good. It was really good. So going through the things, those deal breaker things, sometimes are the things that make our marriage the strongest and make us the closer to our spouse, makes us closer to God. God wants us to come to Him. That's the reason I think that for me, God just wanted me to come to Him and stop pushing Him away in that area. And when I gave it to God, Richard gave his stuff to God, then things really did start to change. So we hope that you guys will think about those deal breakers, forgive the people, and find out where the root of it is. Take it to God, forgive the person, and then also take it to God and let God give you that freedom to heal.
Guys, do us a favor, share this video with others and like this post. Is that right? No. I am
He's
so...
going to say Facebook world in a minute. So, like
this Facebook
our page,
world.
The Real Brights. And we also are putting these now on YouTube. So we have a page called The Real Brights on YouTube. And so share our videos. That would really help a lot.
We're trying to reach 3,000, right? Trying to reach more than that.
Okay,
but
it's so confusing. So we want to reach 1 million couples, but we would like to have 3,000 likes, because we're at 2,000 now. So our next goal is 3,000 people that like our page. And because I don't know, Facebook said that's a thing. So you're supposed to be at 3,000. So on social media, we're The Real Brights, on Instagram, on the YouTube channel, on Facebook. And our studio is starting to look really good.
Yes, it is.
So we're getting the logo and the name, where it says Real Marriage, having that made, and it'll be in the background, and they're putting the wall up. So we're really close to being able to be actually in our studio and not in our kitchen anymore. So
that's right.
Super excited about that.
Thank you, John and Denise.
Yes. So
and
thank
everybody
you
else who's
guys.
helping.
We appreciate you. We love you. Make sure that you share our videos and send us any questions that you have. You can private message us on Facebook or put something here. Or if there's any subjects you want us to talk about or topics that nothing's sacred to us. We will talk about it. So,
no, stuff is sacred to us.
But you know what I'm saying is like we're okay with talking about nothing is.
Right.
Is that the wrong word?
There's nothing off limits.
Off limits is a better word. That's a better word. Okay, so this Thursday too. I know these are time sensitive. People are going to watch it after, but if it's this Thursday,
Yep.
June 20th, right?
Yep.
So we're going to do dinner and a marriage. If you haven't signed up for dinner and a marriage, I saw Mike and his wife. They're coming. We have
David and Geneva coming.
We have 6 more spots this week for dinner and a marriage. So you can go on the Real Brides page. There's a link. It's $50. Husband and wife it's $50 total. That includes drink, dinner, gratuity, dessert, tax. Everything is included. So that's a heck of a deal. Great food, and Richard and I can do a little marriage encouragement at the end. So it's fun, and we'll see you guys next
Tomorrow.
Sunday.
Please tell Ricky we said hello. Miss you guys.
Hey, Tamara. All right, guys. See y'all next Sunday. Peace.
That's it. Deuce. Deuces.
Bye.
Curtains.